Just stop doing that. I was thinking about, since I don't know Mountain Mary's and I don't know you, though, as I was saying, I love the look of you. You look so alert and quiet and attentive and filling up from the back forward. The fear at the front is such a powerful thing in readings. I was thinking of what to say before I began reading. And I was thinking about the way in which poetry is somehow thought of as an art or a category of the academy. And I think of it as something different from that. I think of poetry as being a way of listening. A way of listening, first of all, to how other people speak. Conversations in bars and coffee shops, your mother and father chatting in the bedroom while you were trying to sleep. All the overhearings. Because poetry begins with overhearing, with listening, and then later listening to what's going on in your own head. So I think poetry, if it's anything, is learning from language. We're lucky, poets are very lucky, writers in general, because their material is free, absolutely free. Not only free, but given to them day and night by all those people around them. They speak of the mother tongue, and the mother tongue is what your mother says and your father says and what's said all around it. And all of this information is material, and all you have to do is listen to it. So if you've never written a poem is not about some idea you have, oh, how cute she is, I better say so in some clever way so that she'll go to bed with me. Not an idea like that, but rather you wake up in the morning and there's a phrase in your mind, any phrase, the deer on the lawn, the oil on the floor, the car in the driveway, and just write down that phrase and think about what's the next phrase, what comes after. Because poetry always comes after. Language is always chasing its own tail. It will always go with you and for you. So when you wake up, you write a word down, just wait for the next word to come. Don't think about it, just listen. Just listen. Thinking is for philosophers and critics and other grand persons. But poetry is about listening until the language speaks through you, and you become an instrumentality of its instrumentation, of its coming into the world. So I wanted to say that, just in case any of you don't know what poetry is. Now you know, or you know what I think it is. Anyway, I want to start by reading from a book that's hard for me to read from because the print is very small, and hence all the fuss about lights here. The book is called Threads, and it's made up of a number of poems, all of them being one sentence long. And I set myself two constraints in the book. One was not to use the word I, except in quotes. I was not ever to speak about myself, but I could quote someone else saying I. The other constraint was to make sure that every single poem made it one sentence, one perhaps cumbersome, don't try it in English class, but one continuous sentence. So I want to read one from that I like a lot. It's number 18 in Threads. Art is about art. Art is what has no opposite. So how do you know, as one must know, everything that's going on anywhere, everywhere in the world? Art has no opposite, so this thing that is seen or made or sounded brooks no contradiction. Does that mean it has no meaning? Technically, by those philosophic rules life is guided by candle in a bohemian turret, brickwork, clammy with river damp. So what do you see? Dr. D said to Sir Edward. What do you see? And it seems that Edward said, it sees a language that desires us? Or is that misreading? Wait. Language desires us, and it sees another language, inside language. Always another one that discovers you. Or is it me? You are its me. There's no life left to us. We have been spoken. And this depression kept him from seeing any more for hours, till the doctor took him down to the Circassian's Blonde Cafe to drink a smoke of that opium, so accurate in its fragrance, Turks were bringing to the city in those years. So that one lay back upon the next neat divan and dreamed all the way to Persia, where the sky is made of blue tile and yellow tile, and does the earth. And Sir Edward woke a morning later, or noon, ready to read the patchy stone again, while the doctor fretted and learned Greek phrases from the innkeeper's chaste daughter. Such expressions as the oleander's poison leaves cast, healing the shadows. For what time was left undone, space must conclude. Or folkloric wisdom of a dubious cast, the 7 crows trying mean a day without dying, phrases for which the doctor felt a strange gratitude, as one sees outlandish things one never would have thought oneself, and so pressed little silver coins into her cool hands of this quiet girl, little more than a child, who hoped one day, after her father's inevitable death, to become a nun with her life, and had her whole vocabulary to use up before the silence of the convent closed on her and the summer stars. So I'll read now from a book called Fire Exit, which is the first in 3 volumes. It's not really like Dante. I mean, it reminds me, I sometimes tease myself and call it Dante light, but it isn't about hell, though Fire Exit is a good way of talking about hell, or getting out of hell. Do you remember hell? Hell must have been a popular issue in this building once long ago. But does anybody still believe in hell? I can't ask that, that's an inappropriate question. But I believe in fire, certainly. So I'll read a few sections of this. The first book is called Fire Exit, the second is called Uncertainties, and the third, about to come out this year, I hope, is called The Hexagon. It's an attack on the Pentagon. The Pentagon is the 5 fingers of anger and hatred and war. The hexagon is the six-pointed star of Venus, peacefulness, and love. You don't have to know that. That will not be on the exam. You have to take care of money. That's the trouble. It's like a child.
You're a little too close.
You tell me.
Yeah.
You have to take care of money. That's the trouble. It's like a child. You want it to sleep till it's needed. More like a hammer than a dog. But money is a man. It needs attention. Needs to struggle up to you, snuggle, and know its place in your heart. Your bed will ne'er be taken by an other. We sat in Sheridan Square, discerning women's bodies through the wooden coats, woolen coats of women, and these women looked no different from the women of Sutton Place, though the coats were different, and we were cold. The only warming, the ardent business end of cigarettes, cold ash, soon down Christopher Street, setting, and so what? Little did we know that everything that ever was still is. You just have to put your finger on it, as I now, this morning, you, dig out of that one time, 4 a.m., the dawn patrol of horny clerisy, still footing it beneath some all-day moon in another country, close to here, even now is then. And nothing's lost, alas, though we were closer to it now by far. The no-pronoun desert with stone trees look like ruby when you cut, but nothing bleeds. And we are almost there. One more pit stop in Wyoming, the place with all the flags and penguins, the world as ordinary lie. Can't wait to get there? You can't bear to stay. Is this hearing? Am I hearing?
Yes, fine.
Are we hearing? But are you listening? Hearing. See photograph attached of their white colonies, leprous on the beachy rock. This cross, that moon, these branches. And that one, this mirror, Horace's town whose name won't fit his meter. That cross, this moon, this mirror, those horns of the bull skull to leap over, jump over the mirror. The other child, not Minus's, but Pasiphae's, boy, cow, jumped over the moon, kicks it as she passes, becomes the sun. Bruno's burns, the shells of a princess tree have tiny seeds aplenty, tiny whitish from the pale brown fall over the May lawn under purple flowers and no leaves yet. Pecans of Sodom, the cow never came back. We see her horns in every temple and her stall or throne on which some Christian bishop blasphemously sits. But I have seen her on a stormy day come calmly from the east, humaniform and dry mid all the hurricanes, reproaching me for casual attire, for I had worn language to our tryst. Fierce, she peeled the letters off me one by one, till I had bare-bone words, unwritable, unsayable, and these she took and wove a skin for both of us to share, till the chill night had passed, and sunlight crept nervous down her path, and I still don't understand, and never will. I should say that much of this poem and much of my work is deeply committed to a kind of use of mythology, not the mythology I get from books now, but maybe the mythology I got from books when I was 11 or 12 or 20 or something. Maybe you're getting it now. The mythology that comes into the mind and stays there. And you forget all that. You forget how to write Hathor's name in Egyptian characters. And you forget who Shiva's second wife was. And you forget all that. Nonetheless, something remains. That word, that mythos. Mythology means literally the word of the word. Mythos, logos. Mythos is word, logos is word, the telling of telling. How we tell, how we remember. So those myths still live in me, and I don't pretend or demand or even want any kind of scholarly apprehension of them, but just they're there. They're there if you notice them. They might make you happy as you pass by. Here's number 86. You should understand that all of Fire Exit is written in 3-line stanzas, remorselessly, 3-3-3. All of Uncertainties is in 2-line stanzas, 1-2-1-2, and all of the Hexagon Yet coming out is in single lines. where each line is a complete statement in itself. Complete poem in itself, maybe, who knows. One choice. You have to experiment with these things, see what you can get away with, what will work, what does work. And you're the ones who decide what works. You know, somebody comes to you. When I was a kid, you'd go into a bar, and someone would come. Yeah, we went to the bars when I was a kid. Someone would come up to you and put his hand on your shoulder and whisper into your ear some poem he had just written. And you'd shrug and run away, or kiss him, or do something in response to what that offering was. Sid Corman, the great American editor who ran a magazine called Origin, of great importance in the history of poetry, had one motto: offer, respond, let be. The only thing that really counts is how the audience responds. If you respond, it works. If not, no. It's as simple as that. We're pragmatic people. We're Americans. We're not English, who have a mode, a norm, syntax of meters, of rhymes, and things like that. We haven't got that. We have a different kind of writing, a writing that came to us from Whitman and Melville and Dickinson and Eliot and Pound and William Carlos Williams and Charles Olson and Robert Duncan. A way of talking that is essentially just talking, without any of the props and stays, without any of the baggage, and seeing if that works, if you can get that to sing. Well, anyway, here's a piece, 86, from I Yield. Zebra, part of sea, with stripes, a bass, a rock painting into the wind, always. Straits of some word you can read, tread, your name, the will, a hoof, a hard place in the sky. By wounds, north wind, leafy. Remember, leafy, cross, spear, hammer, zebra, ankle, pass of the sea. Retold to children, their skin, purest ivory, from tusk of slain beast, narwhal, walrus, zebra. Your name, riding on another's crown, a bead of spit, a pearl on your lip. Revenge for what? Pocket calculator, hidden in whose clothes, determines measure I hold, mass, hold me. Bridge, wine, rock, fish, cloud. Capex, neuter, nimble, run. Prod, press, hold, forget, dwell, dwindle. Then wake up only in waiting. Cork, pill, taper, gizmo, little flame. Name, moonless, noonless name, agglutinative, frost. Cat ice, dowel, rosary, semaphore, meat rack, woman at loom, leaf. Laugh, gull, trajectory, channel, mirror, corridor, oration, barley, shadow, shelter, moorland, zebra. I like mostly to read recent poems. I hate reading from books because even though these books are fairly recent, they're still not now. And I'm only really interested in what I'm doing right now. So I want to read from a longish poem called A Break in the Weather, which I wrote last month. And I just want to read a few sections of it from it, because I've never read it out loud and I don't know what it sounds like. So here, let me try this section. Mean anything? No. The meaningless sound. Like me. Man with mutilated soul, the sea does that when you try to escape. Your nights and turrets drowned in surf scum. It hurts like the thought of tomorrow. Magdalene, forgive my imprecisions. I have to believe, real person, any real person is really you. I thought all this while was pure number, but there is something worse than ignorance, a dead blue jay in the snow, a sign of it, something worse than war, a poem glorifying it, something worse than death, an unspent life. Iago is the common man, and everybody, dressed like anybody. His skin is resentment, his core is fear. Forgive him as you forgive yourself. Making trouble is the only thing he can make. Pity the ineptness that sings its way to tragedy. Everybody loses. That's the point of it. Iago is rational. He chooses what hurts others to drown out what hurts him, and that he never knows. Mind and no soul, soul and no spirit, gall and no skin. We don't know what we are at last. We are Iago mostly, and glad to die. Get it over with, whatever it was. Clouds come up the sky. Sometimes it rains. Sometimes deer come in from the woods. A kind woman feeds them, and for an hour there is quiet in Eden, and no thought. Mind as lucid as the clear sky after. The Break in the Weather is written in 6-line stanzas. I like stanzas. You know, stanza in Italian means room, like the one we're in is questa stanza, this room. And just there are lots of people in the room, so a stanza can have lots of people in it, lots of lines, lots of images, but there's still something room-like about each stanza. And you can see that more when you read a poem by itself. So I'm not going to make breaks between the stanzas. Anyway, I thought this is another section that might work, a very short passage. But there were jewels in the gravel, water between the ties collected, tadpoles and stick insects in moonlight. Who knew such people walked the dark? I thought we were the only dragons here, soaking our cigarettes in laudanum and... Never mind, spirit, the soul is meat enough for all our living. Spend 20 seconds under anesthesia, my life was changed forever. Because time is a compromise. Time is really our friend, and time gives us time to notice and savor and to change. We go in and go out freely, evenings, mornings, or what makes it a garden? We grow there and are grown. Eden Garden. It is the other dreamland, the one we sleep to enter, not this one we wake to find. Jim told me to read half an hour, and I am very obedient. I went to Catholic school and learned the virtues of obedience. I've forgotten what they are now, but I learned the habit. I guess that's the virtue, habit. A little bit more of this. And music means nothing, but Nietzsche means. I rest my case in rose, piquant palabras that wake me mornings with a taste of sugar, granulated like sunlight on this week-old snow. Is this enough for me to believe? Philosophy is the symphony of men who can't carry a tune. Blink, the last man blinks. Blank balance sheet, the pillow sweaty from sleep, how hard we work to muscle through that other consciousness. But when is that Our Lady of Intuitions? Language is the working class's vengeance on the rich. Coffee. Black, sweet French mocha from Puerto Rico on Christopher Street. Best place for coffee. It's sent it by mail, $8 a pound. End of the ad. I don't know if I have time to
You have
read
plenty
this
of
one.
time, don't worry
Oh,
about it.
I don't know.
We started late, so.
Okay. Then I'll read Experimenting with the Obvious. This is from 2 weeks ago. Almost 3 weeks ago. Experimenting with the obvious, night of the dog begins. Sweet dreams, a memory, skin yields, the first time of everything. 2, missing something, waiting for something else. A concerto by Cimarosa, comfortably recondite, accent on the brass, copper and tin and something more. Why do you shine so much? When I see you on a morning, or think I do, am I a phantom too? Does it take one to know two? 3, as afterwards I might catch a curl of it, descend on an April breeze, just lie there, don't waste on jogging the force God gave you for building cities and the houses in them, but all your haunt is girls and cathedrals. 4, so changes are needed. Hello, house is what someone else must live in. You're in the open, weird wind, forest murmurs, wendigo. You scare me, mirror, with your tendency to lie. Hello, yourself impertinent means not touching the matter at hand. Enhance the hope of heaven. Pillow conversation. Under the heavy quilt, the whole truth. Not on this side of the mountain, more like mandolins or a workshop for small bright things not far away. Wind brings it close, water trickling from an aluminum canteen is like that, a bird pecking its seed. Millet, listen, there was once a question of desire, typewriter ribbons, a first date, foundering canoe. The shoe of memory fits many feet, so I come late again to our tryst. Were we to meet beneath the tree? What kind? Or at the crossroads? By sun or moon? Are you somebody more or less real? Or just remembered? But that's a question about daylight too, or whatever it is by which I see that you're not here. The road is bare. Yeah, you can tell when this was written a couple of days ago. So it is Easter, after all. The ardours of Lent left me untouched, unchastened. I had my own preparings to do, to live another day in Parasceve, the Romans say. From Parascevo, I prepare. Passover sounds like that too. In my heart, there is always a Christian rejoicing by the empty tomb, adoring the union of bliss and clarity and emptiness, Christ's last sign he showed us, the clear blue sky. Those of you who are Bible readers will remember the wonderful passage in the Acts of the Apostles. Is that where it is? Where they go out and Christ ascends into heaven, and they're standing there watching the sky, into which he has vanished, till there's nothing to see in the clear sky. And someone, an angel, comes by and says, "What are you looking at?" and they don't know. Wonderful, wonderful moment. Even in the Bible, there are moments like that. When you give a pen to someone, you give them all the words they'll write with it. When you give someone a cup of water, you wash away all their sins. When you touch someone, the touch will live forever. Non omnis moriar. I want to end now, and I have a superstition that every reading should end, my reading should end with the most recent poem. So this one was written this morning, and Charlotte kindly typed it for me while I scratched my head. I write longhand, and then later type it, and usually that's an ordeal of typing and reading and all that stuff. So sometimes I get help. Specifications for the journey. Have no destination in mind, have nothing in mind. Leave the horse in the barn, car in garage, unmuzzled ox at graze. Nothing in the sky but very small birds. Say farewell to your house door, using as many words as you can, even words you don't know, words nobody knows. No mouth ever spoke. It is good for a door to hear all that. And the longer you speak in farewell, the shorter your journey will seem. Someday you may even get as far as the lilac bush next door. People may be sitting on the porch. They may even call you by name. And that is who you are. Thank you.